Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to discuss the Virgo Solar Eclipse, which is happening on September 21st at 29 degrees, 5 minutes of Virgo in your chart. Now, this is a Virgo solar eclipse at that critical last degree point of Virgo. That's very important, so we'll be discussing that. Plus, within 24 hours, the sun then crosses over the equinox threshold, entering into Libra season, which is also the beginning of the second half of the astrological wheel. There are a lot of important energies here in this Virgo solar eclipse, which I believe highlights that we are closing out a particular chapter and season in our life. And that realization and awareness may have been initiated for you back on the first Virgo new moon at 0 degrees on August 23rd. So for the past number of weeks, you would have been feeling and sensing what is powerfully transitioning for you. And of course, that Pisces lunar eclipse that we just had on September 7th brought in the big waves of change, the change over in the energies that maybe washed something out for you. That Pisces lunar eclipse could have felt like a personal tsunami, an emotional surge of new rising awareness, perhaps something even coming alive for you in the higher realms that you sense is guiding you and moving you forward as you figure out what needs to be changing and shifting in your earthbound reality. Virgo is mutable earth. It's how we adjust to the circumstances of our dynamic lives. It's how we stay in awareness of what is important and essential, even as those changes come about, often outside of our control. So the Virgo energy is where we're able to maintain a sense of control and focus on your own well-being, responsibilities, your calendar, your workload, but you might be sensing that all is changing too. And this eclipse season is designed to take us higher and further, but we are being asked to look at our earthbound connections and what is truly supporting you, what is foundational and imperative, and what is just excess. I feel that this is going to be bringing up where you can be more willing to change, to release your grasp on something you've been holding closely or dearly, perhaps even understanding what that means. What is the symbolism of what I'm holding on to here? I'm grasping onto something because it gives me a sense of control or the illusion of control. I'm holding on to what I really want and need because I believe it's supporting me. It's important to my self-identity and what I am working on. That Virgo energy can have a strong sense of ownership over a process, a project, something that you are responsible for. And so then you could feel like the gatekeeper of it, saying, this is mine, I will handle this, I'm going to manage this project or this area of my life really well to the point that I have it so fine-tuned that it's moving along perfectly and effortlessly. And then here come these eclipses that shake it all up and say, this was just one experience of that energy. This was just one version. Maybe for you, it feels like it's version 6.0 or version 18.0. But basically now in Virgo energy with a solar eclipse, a new version is arriving. So where can you be more willing to work with these bigger changes, even if you don't like them, even if you're not on board? Because the universe is signaling that these changes are happening ready or not. The Virgo solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo is a closing out of a chapter. It is actually meant for you to see what you have mastered, what you have done well. It could be showing you how far you've gone in a particular industry or job, showing you how your skill set has improved over time, And here you are at a pinnacle point of seeing that for yourself. So this is meant to be a graduation point. This is meant to be an acknowledgement of, look at what I've done so well. Look at what I have improved, perfected, mastered. And here comes this solar eclipse, which is a new moon beginning point that then ushers you into the next level of your own journey and the next level of what you're here to develop. This is going to directly relate to job changes, which we've been talking about for a while. It's meant to show us how we are physically handling the changes in our modern lives. Virgo brings you into contact with your body-mind connection and how the power of the mind is going to affect your body. How you hold stress, how you hold guilt or feel guilt, what moves through you that you are digesting and sitting with. Virgo is the energy meridians in the body, and how your body is working with many energies, perhaps to the point of overstimulation, anxiety, excessive worry, any kind of hyper tendencies, the hyperthyroidism or hyperactivity, because the body is trying to manage so much at this time. So the physical management of energy could be coming up to your awareness. Maybe you're sensing that you need some support so you can process the energy, move it through more efficiently and effectively, which will also affect other areas of your life, including sleep, rest, and our ability to decompress after a busy day. So this is a good time to check in on yourself and what's really working for you and what is not. The Virgo energy is about specialists, those who have specialized knowledge in a particular niche, who can give you good quality advice and support you in finding better solutions. So this would be a perfect time to do so if you're feeling that nudge or sensing that something is no longer worth taking forward. Now that 29 degrees of Virgo is an ending point. It's a completion. And it's interesting because the dichotomy is not only are we at this ending point, but the solar eclipse marks a very stark beginning point as well. And then the energy moves to 0 degrees of Libra, which is the Libra Equinox, and it's also a world point. Every 0 degrees of the cardinal signs is a world point. So that's 0 degrees Aries, 0 degrees Cancer, 0 degrees Libra, 0 degrees Capricorn. World point energies bring our attention to the bigger dynamics unfolding. And this Libra energy is cardinal air. So beginning important conversations, taking your energy out to share and interact with others, entering into key relationships, connections, one-on-one dynamics, a willingness to have conversations that might challenge your own viewpoints and value systems. Libra is the energy of not only having discussions, listening, understanding another viewpoint, but it's also going to be those who disagree with you, those who do not see it in the same way. They have different values, different information, just a different understanding of what they think and perceive. So this marks a turning point into some bigger global conversations, which seems crazy because I feel like we've already been in that, but there's going to be some really important conversations and discussions that come up that can either highlight more of our own polarity and division, or it can take us further in our diplomatic skills, in our ability to detach and listen to differences without escalating, without shouting. And it might lead us to more balanced understandings. That would be perhaps more of a long-term perspective. This Virgo solar eclipse is taking us into bigger global dialogues, negotiations, diplomatic issues, contracts, treaties, agreements that could bring about some surprising developments. Now, it's worth noting that at the time of the Virgo solar eclipse, we also have Mars at 29 degrees of Libra, also at a critical point here, as Mars has been in discussions and conversations to bring about change. Mars is a trigger planet and can be a catalyst, but in Libra, that energy is muted since Libra is the sign of Mars's detriment. Mars then moves into Scorpio right after this eclipse, and Mars entering Scorpio is a strengthening position of personal power and conviction, declaring no more Mr. Nice Guy. This is what I really want. This is what drives me. This is where I have a desire, and the intensity picks up as Mars moves into Scorpio and has a new passion. And perhaps that passion has already been there, but it's just been tempered, especially while traveling through Libra. I believe that Mars at 29 degrees of Libra is part of the turning point energy of this eclipse. And this energy can take matters to a whole new level. And that's because Mars in Scorpio can be more obsessive, ambitious, driven, and emotionally charged. It may even feel like a welcome change if there's something in your life you've been sitting on the fence about. Mars in Libra will sit on the fence, will be in the very middle of something, and then he moves into Scorpio and takes action based on what he wants without being stuck in his head anymore and overthinking the what ifs, the pros and cons, or all the talking points. It also means that we enter into Libra season with more drive, because of what we've been contemplating and considering with Mars in Libra. So you might feel propelled to move forward in a whole new way and assert yourself as Mars in Scorpio digs into his truth. And that is one of the higher expressions of Mars in Scorpio, is that there is something to look at and face, even a fear that's been holding you back. But the journey is to transform that fear by taking action towards it that could continue to make you feel even stronger. It's interesting because the sun moves into Libra, Mercury is in Libra right after the solar eclipse. So there is a need to talk about things, to find solutions, and be open to discussions of anything that's unresolved on your mind or just sparks your curiosity. Libra is where we take our energies out into the world and share and cooperate with others. But now Mars going into Scorpio has hidden motivations and another agenda that's moving him forward. So we could see this certainly on the world stage as things will present themselves in one manner, maybe with a lot of diplomacy, justice, and cordial handshakes. But then Mars in Scorpio might be moving behind the scenes in a more stealth manner to further his agenda and make something happen, especially if it has been delayed. So let's talk about some other developments that occur right after this Virgo solar eclipse, which again is moving you into a new season of your life. It's meant to change your lifestyle in some manner and to move you forward into that next version, as I mentioned earlier, the next version of Virgo energy for you, especially as it relates to Libra. I mean, we have to keep tying in both of these energies. The Virgo-Libra axis is strongly emphasized with this solar eclipse beginning point. So maybe it's interacting with new people, moving in with someone, sharing your energy in a whole new way. Taking the harvest of Virgo season and what you have diligently worked on and refined and moving it into the sharing connections of Libra, where you're no longer on your own or having to do all the work yourself. How can you disperse the workload or work with more people that are on the same page? I mean, I'm thinking about this in terms of a professional atmosphere, hiring an assistant, hiring a contractor, bringing in new employees or new people that you can trust to move something forward. Think of it in terms of how that Libra energy is designed to develop mutual receptive energies with others. And then there's a signal here from the universe that we're bringing that in. And it's meant to bring in balance. That's one of the key words of Libra, is how we are balancing our lives and our energies at a whole new level. So as we move into Libra season, you might also have an awareness of what is out of balance, whether that's within you or within your life. If you are really exhausted from doing it all, perhaps you have been overactive in your masculine energy. You're worn out, tired, you need support. Maybe on the other end of the spectrum, you're worn out in your feminine. And you're also looking for support to handle things or take things on that you haven't had the energy for. This is going to be a time period that highlights where we are out of balance so that we can intentionally move towards greater balance, greater peace, and more internal harmony. Now, the sun entering into Libra occurs on September 22nd at 2:19 p.m. That's Eastern Time. This is the equinox, when the Earth's axis is pointed towards the sun in a balanced manner, resulting in almost equal amounts of daylight and darkness around the globe. And it means that we have equal experiences of night and equal experiences of day. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, it is the beginning of autumn, and in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the beginning of spring. And so the Earth is perpendicular to the sun's rays and is meant to be an energetic balancing point. Now, of course, we go through this every year, in fact, twice a year, right, at the Aries equinox and the Libra equinox. But with an eclipse here, the energies are emphasized and bigger, signaling that the balancing and the harmony can be bigger, but at first we could see some drastic division and changes that we are meant to bring into harmony. Now, you could honestly say we've already been in that, Molly. We've already been moving through this polarity and increase in division of energies. Yes, absolutely. But I think that with this eclipse, we're going to start to have some new solutions, which is part of Virgo. How do we find ways of improving this? And not just discussing it, ruminating, or throwing insults back and forth across the aisle. How do we make changes here that better us, that improve us? What new questions do we need to ask in order to arrive at new answers and understanding? So that, of course, is one potential of this solar eclipse. And the other end of that spectrum is that it can further the divide. It can continue a very deep split and reveal where there are even more oppositional forces. That is part of the Libra energies too. As the sun enters Libra on September 22nd, there will be an immediate opposition to Neptune retrograde in Aries at 0 degrees. Both the sun and Neptune retrograde will be at a 0-degree world points here in the polarity axis of Aries and Libra, emphasizing and bringing up what is true and what is illusion in relationships. This is the first time the sun in Libra is opposing this Neptune in Aries, which can be hiding the false self. Confusion in relationships, communications, and discussions is going to be strong. What to believe, what is truth, what is real. Neptune in Aries can bring up the smoke and mirrors illusions, as that sun in Libra wants to blast through to find the truth and determine what is really intended here. It could be hard to identify intentions. It can be difficult to believe what is said, especially if something feels off. With this opposition happening at 0 degrees of Aries and 0 degrees of Libra, not all is what it seems, and more revelations are going to come forward, maybe those that have been long hidden. Then the sun moves forward and creates a powerful and transformative Air Grand Trine with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius and Uranus retrograde in Gemini. This is happening at 1 degree of the air signs. So if you have planets or points at 1 degree of Gemini, 1 degree Libra, or 1 degree of Aquarius, this is the sun bringing your consciousness and attention to powerful dynamics in your relationships, connections, conversations, ideas. This is a powerhouse Air Grand Trine of transformation with a willingness to communicate in a new way, to process and contemplate at a whole new level, to work with ideas that are coming through that can powerfully shift you. Now, this Air Grand Trine has already been unfolding as each planet has moved into Libra. So we had Mars in Libra, we've had Mercury in Libra. Now here comes the sun entering into this connection with Pluto and Uranus, and it furthers the developments of what you have been deeply changing in the beginning degrees of Libra. This relates to relational dynamics, partnerships, conversations, those you interact with through one-on-one dynamics, what you've been talking about, figuring out, discussing. This is a turning point here that takes something to a whole new level, and it can be bringing in important new relationships. Because the sun is in Libra here, the energy brings our attention to what is being developed through the air signs in this Air Grand Trine. But now the sun is offering a way to balance the energy, to bring something forward, to perhaps initiate or reset a dynamic because of ongoing growth. What has been transpiring and what you've been learning because you've been thinking about it, talking about it, trying to figure it out. And with the air signs, there's a lot of energy here that also now can move. An Air Grand Trine is a closed system of energy that's meant to flow between each planet. So the sun comes into Libra, connects to the powerful truths of Pluto in Aquarius, which can involve your social network, friends, acquaintances, allies, and soul tribe. Perhaps realizing who you're on the same page with, people you have things in common with that will travel with you into the future through a shared vision. And then also understanding that maybe you're forming a new life vision and there's something that's calling to you that's more authentic, more truly you, that you're tapping into for the first time. The sun in Libra will also be trining Uranus in Gemini, which is sparking new ideas and breakthroughs in how you want to live your daily life, what is interesting to you, what you're ready to change up and experience in a whole new way. An Air Grand Trine with these 3 planets can signify a readiness for major life changes because Pluto and Uranus are about making dynamic shifts in our consciousness and in our ways of being that take us through a threshold. It's sort of this passing over something and there's no going back. And that could be something you're realizing, perhaps around yourself, people in your life, friendships, partnerships, a marriage, siblings, coworkers. This basically involves everyone in our lives. That's what the air signs bring forward. And there could also be some really exciting new developments about the people you're ready to meet and call forth, connecting with more members of your soul tribe. I'm feeling this as also being deeply connected to our ascension cycle, where we are moving away from certain groups and people. Maybe you're feeling like you're done with soul contracts and parts of your soul circle who are moving in different directions and they're not going on the same path as you. This is an encouraging forward-moving development here where you could feel that you're rising up to connect with a whole new group of people, new ways of living, new activities, new hobbies, new passions, and it's being seeded during the solar eclipse cycle here of this Libra equinox. And so that's the convergence zone that's so strong, is that it's completing one way of being, maybe one way of working, one way of living your life that Virgo lifestyle is emphasized, and moving into the next experience of your life that introduces you to more people, different people, new ways of living, and also brings in people. Like, I'm just feeling like there's going to be a magnetism here, even of all of a sudden there's all these new names to learn, or all these new people to get to know or to interact with. So the social energy could certainly turn up because of this particular solar eclipse. You could feel the energy of a liftoff with this solar eclipse as it takes you into a whole new world and whole new experiences. Now, of course, I do have to mention that the solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo is opposing Saturn retrograde at 28 degrees of Pisces. And Saturn is bringing our awareness to what we are responsibly closing out and ending in the late degrees of Pisces, the karma we're completing, the healing we're doing, the spiritual growth that we are embodying. Saturn is connected to how you manifest and live your life in the physical world. And we don't often think of Saturn as manifesting energy, but it really is, because it's what you have created in your world that relates to your structures, commitments, boundaries, and restraints that we have to work within. There's only so much time in a day, so what are your priorities? What do you have to get done and make sure you take care of? And we can feel that, of course, there's things we just have to do, which is, of course, the truth. And so this Saturn retrograde in Pisces opposing the sun and the moon in Virgo can bring up things you have to face. You have to take care of it. Even if you wanted to push it away or procrastinate or hide it in the Pisces energies of disassociation, numbing yourself, or escapism tendencies, there's something that needs to be faced here during the solar eclipse that is part of that threshold that moves you forward. Saturn might bring something front and center that was previously invisible or hidden in Pisces, but you've been sensing it, you've been aware of it. And remember, this is Saturn returning here to the late degrees of Pisces, and it was previously at 28 degrees of Pisces back in May. So you're already aware of something. It's already been maybe on the outskirts or just kind of hanging out in your aura. And the planets in Virgo are saying, let's take care of this. Let's work on this. Let's manage it. We can't push it away or push it aside. Let's get the job done. So there's going to be a very important part of your energy that feels, I've got to take care of this. I've got to look this in the eye. I've got to show up, which is also the Virgo energy. I got to show up early and not be late and deal with a challenge, limitation, or difficult topic that is actually right on time to be faced and dealt with. And perhaps it's been coming to your awareness even more since that first Virgo new moon, again back on August 23rd. There's certainly a culminating energy here with the Virgo solar eclipse, and trusting your intuition is going to help you face it and deal with it. And there's an element of spiritual responsibility that's involved with this opposition too. The Virgo-Pisces axis brings in similar themes that came up during the Pisces lunar eclipse, right? When that full moon lunar eclipse was at 15 degrees of Pisces, opposing the sun at 15 degrees of Virgo. Now the opposition is between the sun and the moon at 29 degrees of Virgo, opposing Saturn in Pisces at 28 degrees. So we're working with the same axis of energies that we had with the Pisces lunar eclipse, but this is completion, maturity, strength, and responsibility that needs to be faced and needs to be taken care of, but with a heads down, just get the work done type of mentality. It's private, personal, internal. There is a humbleness and a humility to the Virgo-Pisces axis. So this could be a time when you are communing with your own soul and more of your God self to understand what is coming up for you to move through and complete. I'm also feeling the energies of ascended masters who are very present at this time. And if you have felt drawn to a particular ascended master, that might be beautiful confirmation of how you're supported energetically as well as in the spiritual realms. And you may want to work with that energy more actively and intentionally right now. It's interesting because I'm feeling like the ascended masters are also ascending in this cycle. Everything is a spiral. Everything continues on. There is no end point. There is no final finish line. So even ascended masters are meant to keep evolving and growing. And I feel just really strongly that's part of what's happening on the planet, where we're sensing that as well. How these big energies are working with all levels of consciousness, all forms of reality, and ascending us together into new places that we're meant to enter into at this time on the planet. So I'm feeling very strongly the energy of Metatron, Saint Germain, Jesus, Yeshua, Kuan Yin, and I'm even seeing some more energies a little bit further back that I don't have a clear name for. But I'm feeling like these are energies that are guiding us forward, also showing us new ways of viewing our current reality that can support us in healing. Because what I feel too is that when there are deeper divides on the planet, it really has this trauma ripple effect, and we can start to become numb to it. Almost like parts of the skin numb out, parts of the body just no longer feel or sense, the nerves shut down or something. And I'm feeling like what they're showing us and what they're bringing in is some of this lovely healing balm of loving kindness that's meant to bring us together. Because I'm seeing this divide and it looks very traumatic, very abusive, very scarring, not only at a mental, emotional level, but to the collective energy field and like the etheric body. And then I'm seeing them apply these bandages over that wounding, and it looks like split bandages. I don't know how to describe it. It just looks like kind of the bandage you would put over a finger or a knuckle, like a flexible bandage, but it's meant to bring two sides together. It's meant to be a bridge bandage. And I feel that that energy is available to us. Of course, it's based on our consciousness and our willingness to work with that and pull that forward. But I'm seeing these bandages that are meant to support humanity and reminding us how we have more in common than not, how we are able to honor and respect differences without furthering the divide or the cut. And I'm seeing this bandage as very strong white energy, like that pure love and peace frequency embedded in the bandage. So the healing intentions of both Virgo and Pisces would be the bigger connection points here of this particular Virgo solar eclipse. Almost like something might get worse and then it gets better. Like more of the wound has to be cleared out. There could be the sting of the antiseptic, right? But we know that that serves a purpose. So there's going to be a lot going on with this Virgo solar eclipse that is asking us to remain in our mastery, to remain detached, to remain in the higher frequencies of healing the wounds, applying more love than fear onto the divides, and moving with a higher sense of spiritual responsibility. I just keep coming back to those two words, spiritual responsibility, where perhaps you feel yourself aligning with more of these ascended masters or more evolved spiritual teachings that we know them and we forget them and we don't think about them on a random Wednesday or sitting in traffic. But it's exactly in these everyday, mundane environments that God resides, that your God self exists, and that we can bring in more of our own spiritual energies. On YouTube, I go through this Virgo solar eclipse more specifically, if you want to check out that chart video to see more of the astrology, the interactions, and what's going on between the planets. One thing that I do notice in the chart is that there's a lot of exact aspects that happen a few days before the eclipse, leading up to the exact eclipse. For example, Venus in Virgo is going to square Uranus in Gemini on September 20th, the same day that the Sun in Virgo opposes Saturn retrograde in Pisces at 28 degrees. So we're going to be feeling this energy a few days beforehand, getting a sense of what is ready to change, what is ready to be experienced at a whole new level. You could reach a breaking point, would be another way to say it. Right before this eclipse, you could be at a breaking point of, I'm done with this. I'm done in this energy. I'm done with this space. Something could be wildly evident to you that you don't want to carry on anymore with something. And then the eclipse is that catalyst point that shows you, I'm out of here. This is finished. I'm ready for this. I want this. And moves you forward. This is meant to be a forward moving eclipse because it is a new moon. But again, it's based on what you're done with, what is complete for you, what it's taught you, and also what you've learned about yourself, I would say, over the past year. And I'm referencing the past year, so September 2024. Because that's when we had the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces in your chart a year ago. That was on the other side of your chart than where this eclipse is. And you're seeing something in a new way. Perhaps you've been guided to claim something, create something, build something that is more in alignment with the life you want to lead, the new season in your life that is being initiated. But really look back on how much has shifted for you over the past year. The endings you've realized are right on time. The parts of your life that you are willing to close out and move away from. So if that helps at all, I'd say it's the past year that's going to give us an understanding of what we are fine-tuning and improving in ourselves. So in your chart, you would look at where you have this 29 degrees of Virgo by house placement. You don't have to have any planets or points in Virgo for this eclipse to be working with you. It works with all of us, but if you have planets or points in the late degrees of Virgo, this is more personal for you. This is a bigger life change. This is bringing up even more that's right on time in terms of your own personal evolution. Now, I would say that this energy goes into the early degrees of Libra as well. And so if you have planets within the first 5 degrees of Libra, this is also working with you more personally. It would be an out of sign conjunction. But as we've discussed in the show, we know that the sun moves into Libra, has that opposition to Neptune, has an Air Grand Trine. So the early degrees of Libra are very active during this particular eclipse portal. So let's basically call it 24 degrees of Virgo to 5 degrees of Libra is where this energy is showing up in your chart, and any planets or points there are working with you more personally. I will also have a video for you on YouTube going through this Air Grand Trine that I mentioned, going through the chart of that and talking about it more specifically as the Air Grand Trine energies work with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius and Uranus retrograde in Gemini. Also, please note that because this eclipse is a new moon, it will take us towards the Aries full moon on October 7th at 14 degrees of Aries. And then the cycle will close out on the following new moon, which will be on October 21st. So this begins a new lunar cycle here that will play out over the next month. Eclipses can last for a minimum of 6 months. And this particular solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo is going to continue to be activated by the oppositions from Saturn and Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. And we're going to have Neptune sitting at 29 degrees of Pisces from October 22nd until January 26th. And Saturn will be opposing this eclipse point in February when Saturn returns to 29 degrees of Pisces. So there's going to be intensity around endings with this eclipse cycle at 29 degrees, showing us what is completing in the global energies, where there will be leadership failures, endings, removals, maybe someone abdicating power, stepping down, stepping away, loss, extinctions. You get the gist. There's going to be a lot of intensity and emotional waves in this eclipse cycle. And the higher perspective of Pisces is for us to connect with a spiritual understanding of it all. What is your spiritual foundation? How do you process what is unfolding on planet Earth in a way that provides you with meaning and understanding of some kind? There's also a lot of confusion, disillusionment, false glamour, propaganda, illogical choices, and messiness that can be hard to contemplate and understand. It can help to take a higher perspective that every cycle leads us to the next cycle. But I do think there's going to be more emotional intensity around loss and grief in this cycle. I know that's not the most cheerful thing to say, and maybe you're feeling it in your body, that heaviness, or even just needing to release a deep, heavy sigh. But nothing lasts forever. Change is the only constant. And some things might only make sense in hindsight. So do what you can to be in your choices, to find harmony in your life, to connect with joy. Make choices that lift your energy field and connect you to gratitude and appreciation for what you have, what you're doing, what is lighting you up in this world. It's a time to intentionally focus on the higher frequencies, energies all around us and within us, and to do our best to make the most of the present moment. Again, I have a few charts for you on YouTube going through the energies here as we move through the rest of Virgo season and into Libra season. Please check those out if you're interested. Otherwise, I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode. And as always, I deeply appreciate your time, energy, and presence as we continue to move through these big energies together. Wishing you a beautiful Virgo solar eclipse, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.